fanboys who blind faith be like, they're on our side, they're looking for us, and then be like, why are you hurting me so much? I just want to be friends. Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit everything in between. I'm your host as always, Joe, and with me today is the gentleman who only watched the video game awards for Miss Piggy, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, yeah, no, the Miss Piggy's part, I actually found that to be. We're gonna get into this a little bit more later, probably, but I actually found that to be a little bit cringe at the beginning. But she ended up winning me over a little bit toward the end with I forget the other Muppet that was with her that started singing when they started doing the piano in the song. I was like, okay, this is actually kind of okay. But a lot of the Miss Piggy stuff, I was like, okay, I don't know if I need all this.
I mean, they've been doing it for years now, and I find it really odd because anyone like under the age of 25 isn't going to know who
Yeah.
the Muppets are, really. I mean, only being force fed it by their parents or something like that, or other family members being like, Muppets Take Manhattan or Muppets Christmas Carol or something like that. They're like, what are you talking about? Because it's not a show that normal people would know about or watch. So
Yeah,
I found that just
I
hilarious.
think it is Muppets Christmas Carol that does most of the heavy lifting because that's like just gonna play, every year, and I think there might be like more Muppet type stuff that we are not exposed to, but that younger people are more often. I don't know. It does seem kind of weird.
Maybe. I don't know. In my brain, it's just like you're growing up, you heard of things like the Bermuda Triangle, and like I find like my kids will never know what the f the Bermuda Triangle ever will be.
Yeah.
So it was just a common topic thing that people would talk about. Muppets were just a thing, and the last couple times they tried revitalizing the Muppets, I feel that it failed. Even that one movie, there's like the one movie that came out a handful of years ago, and it was actually well received. And then they made a sequel where they kind of like retconned the first one. Like, no, don't worry about it. We're not even going to associate with that first one.
Yeah, it's kind of from a bygone era, and yeah, I remember when I first you're talking about the Bermuda Triangle. When I first heard about the Bermuda Triangle, I didn't see a picture or anything. I just heard about it. It's like where planes and boats tend to just disappear, and then it was like probably years later. I was still pretty young. It was years later that I actually saw a map of where the Bermuda Triangle is, and I was like what? Like this is like literally like tens of thousands of square miles. Like this isn't like a weird like yeah, boats could get lost, and there's like got to be like a million boats going through there, a million planes going through there every single day. Like if you get lost, I don't know. It was just very much more underwhelming whenever I actually found out what it is.
Yeah, radar sonar wasn't a thing back in the day. Communications was very lack, and it was, I guess, it was the early version of a meme slash creepy pasta for sailors and such, right? It
Yeah,
was just like, yeah, you want to hear a scary story? It's real, right? It's kind of
yeah.
stupid, like.
I don't remember. I mean, this wasn't in the Bermuda Triangle. I think this was over the Pacific. But like Amelia Earhart, like for the longest time, people were like, "Well, like we don't really know what happened to her," but and I don't know what that finally ended up, what the final verdict was, but basically what I heard uh, at some point was she almost certainly navigated incorrectly and ran out of gas, and just crashed into the ocean. Like that's like and it was so long ago that there's no way to like that's what was happening at that time. So it's like, well,
Yeah, I mean,
mystery solved.
it was arcane form of triangulation, and that's exactly what she missed. She missed a small island. She missed a small patch of boats. A few things went wrong, and it could have been due to damage to communication devices. So yeah, it's. Uh, I mean, it was literally flying blind back then, which is wild. Just having to map things out in the most arcane way. I'm like, dude, this is how we used to get around. It's amazing. And then here we are, GPS in hand going through, major cities and stuff like that. Without it, we'd be lost or freaking out way more. I mean, it's just like try giving a modern kid a map and be like, here guys, map out your way. Remember these roads because if you miss it, you're going to start freaking out. If you hit this road, you street, you've gone too far. Oh, also make sure you don't hit other cars too, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. It's modern conveniences for sure, but when it comes to having the Muppets of all things keep on coming to your show, I think it's just a Keeley fetish going on. You know, like, what he does. You'll see the documentary coming out, like, you know, the quote unquote untouchable Muppets or something like that, and it'll be a sad story for all of us to hear. You heard it here first.
Keeley's been
Keeley,
abusing the Muppets.
exactly. Hands aren't supposed to go there, Keeley. All right.
Show me on
But
the Muppet where. Show me on the doll where Keeley touched you.
all right. Speaking about all the things Keeley touched, all right, he ended up talking about he hosted his famous video game awards, and we're gonna kick off straight into this. Not in any particular order, or at least the order that Nick wants to talk about it, because he went ahead and put it all in the docket. So, Nick, where do you want to take us from here?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think like I didn't really have a plan for this. So
We never do. It's
so
okay.
I guess I just want to talk about some of the instances. I don't know how much of the Game Awards you actually had your eyeballs on and your ear holes opened up to. I listened to and watched pretty much all of it, especially some of the major stuff. So I guess kind of the biggest news first, right? Claire Obscure, Exhibition 33. Um,
Expedition.
Exhibition 33. I said that, didn't I? Well, there's the episode title right there. So Expedition 33 got everything. After it kind of won some of the major ones like narrative and once it won like best game direction, which I think that was actually the second to last one chosen or announced, but there was a lot of stuff between it and the actual game of the year because ads and announcements and stuff. But like once it won best game direction, it had already won some other ones. I was like, okay, this is definitely winning game of the year. There was so much hype behind it. There was so much both critical and fan, adoration for it that I was like, okay, yeah, this is certainly going to win, get game of the year. I think it was the favorite going into it. And then, but like, I did think it was a bit much for it to just win dang near everything.
It cleaned house, and it's rare to see it clean house, like a game to clean house as much as it does. Like even in Oscar terms, like you rarely see this anymore because usually they're like, okay, you got this, and so we're gonna play nice and give someone else a chance to take the spotlight. But they're like, no, this is legitimately the game that did it all. I thought early on that they were gonna snub it because it got the best independent game, and I'm like, all right,
Oh,
they're
okay.
giving it here, and that means they're going to snub it later. Roger that. This is, but they kept on just
So,
taking everything away after that.
so I think that it came out in basically a perfect year for it to just really run the table. If this had come out in 23, whenever Baldur's Gate 3 won, I mean, there's no, like it might have won one of these, but it wouldn't have won nearly as many. If it had come out last year, Astrobot, it would have, it may have still won a lot of these things, but it would have been very much more difficult for it to win Game of the Year, all these kind of things. But like, let's just like kind of just want to list them. It really did win the top, basically the top five, like Game of the Year, game direction, narrative, art direction, music. I mean, there's not really much. Oh, and then best performance as well. And then, like you said, best indie game, best new indie game, or best new indie developer.
Debut. Yeah.
Yeah, debut.
Uh,
Yeah. So it's hard to imagine a world in which I don't even know how much more it was actually even nominated for, but at least those top five, game of the year, direction, narrative, art direction, and music. That is like that's like everything. Like that's like it's just crazy that nobody else could really kind of steal one. I guess I mean these are like I guess I don't really know how it truly works. I kind of assumed that it was sort of voted on by people who had votes, but that there was a bit of a it was managed a little bit in the background. Like, hey, we can't have one game win all these things. So I guess that's kind of speaks to the purity of the process, is that the reviewers are and the voters are just, they're not talking to each other. They're just saying, this is what I think, and this is the one that's winning. Um, anyway, because to me, if it is managed, then and Geoff Keighley is like pulling strings, or there's somebody pulling strings, I think that if you have all five, the vote comes out for it to win all five, then I feel like somebody says, no, let's give one of these to somebody else and one of these to somebody else. Like have it win three, but not all five, because it's just for it to run the table is just sort of wild.
I mean, yeah, it's one of they also got, best, RPG, which there wasn't a whole lot of competition for what's considered, like, traditional RPG, but
Okay.
Kingdom Come: Deliverance coulda 2 could've, walked away with that at least, or, uh, I know Outer Worlds 2 is in there, but I haven't heard a lot about that, and I haven't had a chance to play. I heard it was, solid, but not necessarily, to the extent of winning. So you once again, you think they would favor or at least, pity some of the other developers, in some of these categories. The fact that you were expecting, I think you and me were expecting them to squeeze Split Fiction in there somewhere,
Mm.
because they seem to, rub elbows with Keeley a lot, especially when it came to best game direction. Split Fiction was on there. And so I'm like, okay, here's the one that he's gonna like hand off to his buddies, or him and Kojima are such
That,
good friends and
that's
friends of the
what,
show. Kojima, so that's I expected Kojima to get some sort of thing, but didn't.
because like
So
it was like at a Jeff Keighley event where Kojima kind of came out with Death Stranding 1, right? That was like where one of those big announcements happened.
he's done multiple announcements at
I know, like
major
he's done several, and it's been anyway. So that was part of my point. Is that as well? But you know, so yeah, that's what I was afraid of, is that Death Stranding would win a lot of stuff because it didn't win Game of the Year last time. That the first one was up, and it was kind of expected to do some stuff though. But I think it did win some other things in the first Death Stranding. So the thing that I think is going on here is that apart from Donkey Kong Bonanza for Game of the Year, every other one is a sequel. Kingdom Come 2, Hollow Knight, Silk Song, that's Hollow Knight 2, Hades 2, you have Donkey Kong, you have Death Stranding 2, and then you have Clair Obscura. And so it's like, okay, well, basically, it, I just feel like a lot of these games got nominated in the past. Kind of, I mean, maybe they didn't get their due, as in winning Game of the Year, but they have been recognized, and also they're like it's kind of why like I didn't make it a point to play Silk Song before basically the end of the year, because I was like, well, I've played Hollow Knight, and yeah, it's I'm sure it's a really good game, but like how much is it really doing that's that different? It's doing it all very well, I'm sure. And Death Stranding 2, it's like it's doing it, except for the story, it's doing a lot of the same stuff, just like even better. But like, so to me, that's probably where the voters were like, we can skip over these and give it to the guys that are coming out of nowhere, doing something we haven't seen and doing it really, really well across the board.
yeah, I mean, at the same time, you think that since they already knew, like games like Hades 2, nominated for a bunch, unfortunately didn't walk away with anything because everything it was in was Claire was in as well.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a, in a situation like that, you'd sometimes think that they would, pass along to a different, but I'm kind of like I said, I'm kind of okay with this. It sucks for a lot of the other people, but at the same time, it's it does they're not playing favorites, right? They are the people that looked at the category independent and from each other in theory and went like, nope, this is the best for this category, at least according to them. And I'm okay with that because honestly, you shouldn't be that's the way you should be looking at it, in my opinion. It's just like, yeah, if you want to give a special mention, special honors, you can say something like that or something, or if you have a second place runners up spot, then if that's what you really want. But that'd be a different kind of show then. But that's how you can run it if you want to have uh, or if you feel like that's going to be a problem. Uh, but if you're objectively looking at each category and you said, yeah, this is actually the better one. Yeah, it kind of stinks that you want to give it to somebody else, but realistically, if you this is what you think is best, I have, and it's not politics behind it, then I have more integrity for the process. You know,
Yeah, yeah. It seems like well, these guys who made this game really should have zero pull in terms of the voters and reviewers because they are, all pretty young. It's a new studio. It's a newly formed studio, and the game was only made for less than $10 million, or right at $10 million, which is also kind of part of, I think, the wow factor is like, wow, you guys did this much, this good with basically, I mean, that's basically like no money. Like for a reasonable amount of directors or reasonable amount of developers on one game, especially made in Europe, is it's gonna be very expensive. So it's wild they're able to make it on that. And I so I think that's probably kind of entered into their minds. But something else that I heard, and I think this might just be people trying to be mean on the internet, but um, somebody was saying that that the people who developed Clair Obscur, that they are ex Ubisoft employees, and I was like, well, they're in France, so it stands to reason why they might be ex Ubisoft employees. I would like to find out if that's true, but I would also like to run with the idea that that is true for just a moment, because if that is true, then that's just like really bad PR for Ubisoft for a bunch of ex employees to go like, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it our way, and first at bat, we're going to hit it out of the park. Um,
for a fraction of your budget,
for
yeah,
for
that's
a fraction of the budget, it's
oh,
this.
and not selling it for a quadruple A price to boot. I mean,
Yeah, so that's one of those things where it's like it's hearsay. I just saw it on like X or whatever, so it's probably not true. But if they are reasonably good game developers who live in France and speak French, stands to reason they probably bumped elbows with Ubisoft, at least rubbed elbows with Ubisoft at least a little bit in learning how to do their job. So there
okay,
might be some
probably
merit there.
interned at some point, right? Anyone in a major university probably interned with them at some point, I feel.
Yeah, and it's also like, so even if they haven't touched Ubisoft, it's like, well, recruiting at Ubisoft, somebody at Ubisoft has to be to blame for this. Somebody has to meet the guillotine at Ubisoft, is what I'm saying. No pun intended. But yeah, so it's just kind of wild. Like, I was really afraid that Death Stranding was going to just do gangbusters, and that I was just gonna like have like a just face melting, just like clawing at my eyes. Like there was a couple times whenever they announced like best narrative, they show like blah 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 blah, Death Stranding 2, and then these are the nominees, and as they're opening the envelope, I literally audibly out loud to my TV said, "Not like this, not like this," and then it would be like Claire Obscura. I'm like, oh thank God, because I did not want Death Stranding to. I wouldn't have minded if it came away with like direction, art direction, or just game direction in general. But I was very much rooting against it for narrative and for Game of the Year. I'm not afraid to
Yeah,
admit.
for me, it was I was figuring between Hazelight Studios, Split Fiction, Kojima and Keighley, them all windmailing each other. I figured that they would clean house, but I was actually pleasantly surprised. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with the results. I guess we should actually go through these categories just real quick because you kind of blew through them real quick, and yeah, Claire did take most of it, but we should at least give some other honorable, like the other people who are nominated. We should at least give them their dues for some of these categories. So do you want to go through just like the top five you were talking about before?
Yeah, so it's a lot of the usual suspects, but so yeah, I've said game of the year already, but I'll just read it from top down. Clair Obscur, Death Stranding 2, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hades 2, Hollow Knight, and Kingdom Come 2. And then game direction, it's Clair Obscur, Death Stranding, Ghost of Yote, Hades 2, Split Fiction. Narrative, Clair Obscur, Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yote, Kingdom Come 2, and Silent Hill F. So yeah, I'm glad that they gave a nod to Silent Hill F there. I heard that gameplay for that was not as great all the way through as it could have been, maybe, but that the story was pretty good. Art direction, Clair Obscur, Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yote, Hades 2, and Hollow Knight Silk Song. Best score. So I'm not going to read the people. I'm just going to read the game. But Silk Song, Hades 2, Clair Obscur, Ghost of Yote, and then Death Stranding 2. And then, so I'll do two more here. So audio design.
Right, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yeah.
So just everything we've mentioned, every category had up until now has been Claire winning. Just for if we hadn't made that clear beforehand, uh,
If we hadn't made that
Expedition
clear
33,
beforehand.
yeah. So I avoided saying that, but you thought it. So there you go. Um,
uh,
Yes, so that's exactly it. That's what we mean by cleaning house. They also Expedition 33 won a few more awards after this, but this next one is just best audio design.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I just want to do these next two. So best audio design. So people were saying that Battlefield 6, Clair Obscur, Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yote, Silent Hill F. So for that one, people were saying, yeah, Battlefield 6 was far and away the winner because I haven't played it, but everybody that says anything about Battlefield 6 is like, whoa, the sound design, like how the guns sound and how everything sounds is like freaking amazing in that game. So makes sense. And then last one I wanted to touch on before maybe go to a different one is best performance. So the nominees were um, Ben Starr, Charlie Cox, and Jennifer English from Clair Obscur. So that's three out of the six that were nominated. Three of them were from Clair Obscur. And then Erika Ishii from Ghost of Yote, Konatsu Kato from Silent Hill F, and then Troy Baker from Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And the winner for that was Jennifer English. So like for it to be half Clair Obscur, like in best performance was kind of this was fairly early in the night. For that a category to be halfway dominated by one game, it's like, okay, this game is going to win some awards because if the performances are all that close together that they had to nominate three people, and having played through it, like I can see it, like the performances stand out, pretty much from the jump and all the way through. So I do get it, but yeah, it's just pretty wild.
I think that one in particular, when they're showing the audience or the other nominees, then you had Konatsu Kato, just not Konatsu Kato. I'm sorry, the Erika Ishii. She's just chilling, like reclining back with a
What kind of
popcorn bucket.
I saw that
Oh,
popcorn and I was like, man, she is just here for the show.
okay. No, but it had the Yote logo on it.
Oh, I missed
So
that.
yeah. So I'm like, she knows she ain't winning garbage, but she's at least gonna ham it up. And I'm like, okay, you might as well
I'm
play
gonna,
it up.
I'm gonna
So,
plug the game. I'm gonna sell some copies. I'm gonna get some royalties tonight.
she's like, I'm here for the food and drink, but I'm because I probably know that I'm not walking away with anything. It's like the Oscars when the actor is just like, yeah, I know it's not me, so I'm just gonna get hammered. You know,
Yeah, and so I mean, kind of wanted to talk about Jennifer English winning. So she won, and she got up and she gave a speech, and it was a pretty heartfelt speech. And I think a lot of people liked it. So
I was afraid they were gonna play her off because it kind of went a little long, and I'm like, are they gonna play her off? Is it gonna happen? It
yeah,
didn't, but
they so that is one thing that I think that has been a lot better overall for the Game Awards as opposed to the Academy Awards. Um, and that is that like they're pretty chill about people reading their speeches. I think we're dealing with people who are not actors. Um, and I think actors, by their very nature, just as a group, probably enjoy hearing the sound of their own voice a little bit more than like the average person. So we're dealing with a lot more directors and programmers and developers and stuff like that. So so a lot of the acceptance speeches are extremely short, that maybe a little bit too short on some of them, but there was a couple. There was at least one where I think it was for best music, where the the guy, it was a couple, and it was a man and a woman, and the guy came up and he gave a pretty long speech, and then they could tell he was finishing, so they started to play the music, and he was like, "Oh, do you want to say something?" And the lady that he was with, she took the mic and said a bunch of stuff, and and but it wasn't too much, it wasn't too long, it was shorter than what he said, and but it was still, you know, quite a bit. And then they calmly, were able to leave. So it was, I think, because it's the internet and it's not like on a network that has to pay for every microsecond of time that it is using, that there is a little bit of like, okay, we're going to go over by 3 minutes, like who cares? Or we're going to go under by 5 minutes, like who cares? Like it's going to be all right.
We say that, but at the same time, I mean, it's the whole reason this kind of came up originally was because was it God of War? Christopher Judge, I think it is. He got played off when he won for his role as Kratos
Hmm.
in the the newer generation of God of War games.
Yeah.
So and then the following year, poked fun at it when he was presenting an award. Then made fun of the fact, and I think was it I can't remember if that was the year that he presented with, or if it was given to him. I think it was given to him by, Al Pacino or something like that. That was
Yeah.
wild, and I think they kind of avoided that hassle of, um, having celebrities really guest star present, and they're not trying to give away, stuff, though some of the ads were kind of like I felt like they were more it's kinda like the Super Bowl, here, in the US. It's like less about the show and more about the commercials,
Yeah.
because they blew some of these through what I felt to be some more important categories real quick. They're like, "And bam, bam, bam," just reading off all that list. I'm like, "Wow, that's not giving anyone any time to breathe." Like, So I felt that was kind of, a sad as long it was like 3 like, the pre-show thing too is, like, altogether, like, 3.5 hours or something. So that was a long show.
Yeah, it's a long show, but I mean, like, I don't want to pat Jeff Keighley on the back too much, but like what he has built here is really something. It's very smart the way that it's done. Being on the internet and giving it a lot of pomp and circumstance and kind of being a celebration of games, but like all the wheeling and dealing that I know he has to do. He's got to do a lot of fast talking throughout the year and leading up to this to get the trailers, because that is, really becoming. I mean, it's really not becoming. It's a huge part of why we watch, because it's like, okay, now I'm gonna actually get something new out of this. I'm gonna get like an announcement. I'm gonna get. I mean, you basically have like a mini E3 here. At the end of the year, it's this and then the other Games Fest that he has at in June. Really genius in the way that he's able to balance that, and what he's been able to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that there is no competition as well, so that really does,
I mean, I
but
mean,
that's
like, there's no competition, but it's like, why is that? Well, it's because it's probably a lot of hard work. It's probably really hard to do.
I mean, he owns the summer and the winter events essentially, which, until something else changes, but I mean, worse for better or worse, COVID killing E3 was probably the best thing that ever happened to him, and kind of unified the gaming industry, leaving only a few like Gamescom and a TGS Tokyo Game Show, and then you have your PAXs, but the PAXs are kind of take it or leave it and more for film than they are for games. So I think that this is really streamlined, and I don't think we need a lot of competition for it. And it helps especially helps that you don't have a lot of game developers wasting time, wasting money to release or try to do different trailers, different snippets, or trying to present themselves at multiple spots because that costs a lot of money just to get either booths set up and out there. So
Yeah,
yeah, this is once again, it was a good show. All in all, some weird things, like I said, but I think you're doing it to appease. Like Keeley's like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have fun my way, and he probably has a spot near and dear to his heart with the Muppets.
it's
And like certain people, you can tell his relationship with certain devs. And I don't think that there was. I think some people were expecting was it Pheasants from Kojima, some sort of his new espionage game. I think a lot of people are
mm,
hoping for something from that, some sort of drop it or teaser. Probably not until summer, until his summer event.
yeah. So yeah, that's so. The last thing I'll probably say about this is just about the show itself is that there definitely were some cringe moments. I kind of think that these shows, as long as they are not like horrifying, and even if they are, every 5 years or so, actually like the cringe moments and the horrifying moments actually add to the show. Like you kind of, in a sick way, you kind of want people talking about some of the cringe stuff that happens because it's just more PR. It's just more people talking about it. Like, did you see that? And you probably don't want like a Will Smith slap, but and you don't want a security issue like that kid sneaking up on stage after Elden Ring won. But you probably want some kind of weirdness or like, oh, that was sort of a weird gaff or like a weird thing to say or whatever. Because I think it adds to people talking about the show and stuff like that. And people are pointing out like that the Street Fighter announcement, the Street Fighter movie announcement, was cringe. I thought it was a little bit cringe, but I thought it was pretty well in line with kind of like what like the rest of the stuff was, and I thought it was like just enough kind of cringe to be sort of endearing and a little bit funny, and not really harmless. It's just kind of just basically harmless overall.
Yeah, so it's funny because one of the things that my takeaway was, so they discovered that they can do aerial rigging on stage, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
because you're watching the one thing and you're like, what is going? Like they paid, you're wasting my time showing a bunch of actors pretending to be in awe of the background screen, and I'm like, I don't care who these peasants are. Literally, they're peasants. I don't care. And then they're like, here's our avant-garde art, and I'm like, then you're watching a trailer, and I'm like is this Wicker Man? What am I watching? And then all of a sudden it's like Larian Studios, and the whole crowd is like, ah, like I don't. I'm like, okay, that part it was interesting. The rest of it, I couldn't give 2 cents about. Like, just it was a waste of time. Just if you
yeah,
did Larian Studios, just that, and then quickly like a brief like 5-second thing. I'm like, I would have been okay with that.
so
And
we
then they're
should.
like, "Oh yeah, by the way, rigging. Let's go. Let's use rigging for control. Yeah, it's that was weird.
So we should probably go into that, right? Like,
Yeah, most definitely. All right, so which one, Larian first or control?
um, I was gonna just kind of read through the list
All right, sure.
of the announced games, and we can hit the big ones as we go. So so yeah, I probably missed a couple here overall, but these are at least the ones that caught my attention. And so we'll just be going through the uh, games and announcements from the Game Awards. So first up, the Free Shepherd. And so I'm going to try to describe a little bit as we go, but if I don't remember, then it probably wasn't really worth going into that much anyway. But the Free Shepherd is a game about a dog. Looks like you're a collie, and you go on adventures and herd sheep and stuff. But it's a very cute looking game. It looks nice.
Yeah, so it's the way. So yeah, you are a border collie, and it kind of you're herding sheep in the wilderness, but then you have weird objects that are around. So it's a weird it has this kind of disturbing vibe because it's not natural. Everything else is like, "Oh, yeah, this is just a simple, nice, chill game," and then you're seeing these weird things in the distance, and it kind of reminds me of, Shadow of the Colossus a little bit with the sweeping landscapes and just that vibe you get kind of, but there's also something slightly unnerving. But I think everyone is this has kind of been one of those darling ones. They're like, "Yeah, you could play as a border collie herding sheep? Sure, let's do this." So,
Uh, uh,
why not?
yeah, this is definitely has not like this has Stray vibes, not in terms of the aesthetic exactly or like what, the like it's not sci-fi, but it definitely is like, hey, somebody made a game about a cat. What if we made a game about a dog? you know? But it does look good. It does look good. Okay.
Yeah, as
Next.
long as you can run along or if you can run on top of the sheep to get from point A to point B, that'd be kind of the way to go,
Yeah.
because that's always fun to watch.
Yeah. Next, so that's planned for 2027. So look out for that. Next up, a game called Decrepit, planned for 2026. This is a first-person horror game. Looks like it's medieval, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it was one of those it didn't really stick with me too much, like, it looks alright, but at the same time, it just there wasn't enough unfortunately, a lot of these trailers didn't have a lot enough to go off of to really stick with me, and, it's
yeah.
so a lot of these are gonna be it says 2026. I don't believe anything's gonna come out like 2026 for most of these. I feel like everything's gonna be pushed back. So at least uh, with the Free Shepherd, I was like, "Alright, 2027, that's realistic. I believe that'll be out by then."
Yeah, 27. Because what we're seeing from the Shepherd is like, okay, there's definitely probably seeing a bit more than just a vertical slice here. We're seeing some actual, stuff together. So then next up, this is that they announced a release date for Pragmata. So this is a Capcom game where you are a dude and there is a little girl that rides on your back and she has powers and it's sci-fi and stuff like that. So I noted this one down because I had not seen or I did not remember seeing a release date, and they finally announced that, or at least put it in my brain, that it's going to be April 24th, 2026. So I thought that it was like January or February, like in my brain. And whenever they said this, I was like, okay, I guess that I hadn't heard anything. I was just hoping for January. But yeah, so April 24, 2026.
Yeah, I don't remember January being a thing, but at the
It
same
probably
time, it
wasn't.
it could have easily if it was, it could have easily just been a placeholder, and if anything says January, like, I would or if there ever is a date that says the beginning or the end of a month, that's generally a placeholder date, so,
Yeah.
if it's always on the 30th or the 1st, then you're like, "Yeah, that's a lie."
So,
So
so there's several games. I can see another one right now, but I noticed that there was okay, yeah. So there's several games and or DLC, big DLC that are coming out in April, and I noticed that. So I think April 26th, as long as these dates hold, and that April 2026 is going to be a pretty packed game month in terms of game releases. Um, Next up, Tank Rat, planned for spring 2026. Did you highlight this one?
yeah, you actually missed it, so I threw it in there. Tank Rat is this weird quasi dystopian, looking game where it doesn't really show any people. It does show like a little drone that attaches to this tank, and it looks like a open world adventure game almost, where you're cruising around having to fight other tank or bigger machines, possibly taking parts from them, building yourself up. The tank that they show for you is kind of like a four-wheeled, elevated tank. So
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like a dune buggy as it were, but like slightly so it can go off-roading a lot more fast. And then I'm assuming you can kit out depending on the situation. It kind of reminded me of vibes of like the old Dominion Tank Police anime, where that one which is done by Ghost in the Shell creator, who I'm forgetting the name now because I'm terrible with names. But it's like that one. That tank was called Bonaparte, which is literally a cobbled together from like the remnants of other giant tanks. Um, yeah, Bonaparte, Napoleon.
Like
Yeah, like, because
Napoleon?
it's a small.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a small baby tank. Literally fits like two people, opposed to the other tank, like the A1 Abrams, giant monstrosities. So that's kind of has that little cute vibe of like, yeah, you're this little thing going around wreaking havoc, and I don't know. I think it's gonna be. I think it'll be all right. If it keeps to that, even if it's doesn't have to be anything particularly deep, but I think what they show will be fun enough, especially if there's a proper progression or, I can see if you're able to, once again, this might be just me reading too much into it, to rekit yourself, switch out armor, switch out, if you want to do more speed versus, if you, or high output damage or defense. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And
Mhm.
maybe that's just what I'm looking into for this tank game. And maybe it's going to be completely different. Who knows? But at the same time, it piqued my interest. I'm not like a War of Tanks person or anything like that. So, but this is like enough fast paced action that I'm interested. So, all right. And this one was supposed to come out next year. It didn't say, it just said spring of 2026.
Mm.
So, probably fall of 2026.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're pretty close to spring 26 in terms of game release, dates. So, um, yeah, it would make sense that that gets pushed to summer or beyond. Um, Next up, Bradley the Badger. I actually missed this one in the first go through, and I was watching a YouTube video that brought it up, and it's a pretty nice looking game. It's got a nice art style. You're a badger. It looks like the gameplay in it looks like it might be a little bit on the childish side, but that might just be kind of the audience that it's maybe directed at. Otherwise, it does look like a pretty nice game, and there's
I
no
think
release date for it.
I think the whole point of it's supposed to be like self-referential. It's supposed to be poking fun out of a lot of genres. It makes fun of uh The Last of Us. It makes fun of I think Kirby at one point, the new Kirby open world
Okay,
game. They have like a Bloodborne like level that you go into. The fact that he's wearing the Marty McFly vest, so
okay.
it's kind of going off the nostalgia
So
trip.
it's a bit like a fourth wall breaking ish kind of like, hey, we're making a joke about the things that you like, kind of.
Kind of like character platformer kind of
Okay,
thing, because at the end they do a bit with, Five Nights at Freddy's, and then they have a bit in the commercial where it's, real actors in a real, kind of real studio type of thing. They mention who the talent behind that is, and I couldn't recognize the name off the top of my head, but, Keeley said it as if we should all know it, and because I'm terrible with names, I had no clue who that was, so, yeah,
that's
sorry.
probably don't actually know who it is, so it's fine. All right, so next up is a pretty big. We had two really big ones like right in a row. I guess there's probably a lot of awards that were given between these two, but next up was Star Wars: Fate of the Old Republic, and so spoiler alert: there's no release date for this yet. So we just got a cinematic that didn't really show too much. Just kind of gave us a little bit of a look and feel of the cinematics that are going to be in this. So this is being directed by I forget his name,
Casey
but
Hudson.
okay, yes. So he's the one who directed in the old days. He was at BioWare and directed Knights of the Old Republic, and he directed all of the mainline Mass Effect series, is what they were saying. And so,
So I didn't get to watch this live because I was busy. But then when I was watching it, I came to this one early on. I had a feeling it was Star Wars, and I'm like, it's a nice little trailer, but at the same time, I'm like, and now I'm going to YouTube this at two times speed. And that's exactly when I started watching everything at two times speed. As
mm,
it went through, and then it's just like, all right, yep, getting out of the ship, walking. There's some characters, and also you get to see the face and a lightsaber go off. You hear the lightsaber sound like that's all right.
so,
It's a nice trailer. We have a lot of high hopes, but at the same time, my expectations are not as high because I just I think it's a different time and different place. I'm afraid of how they're going to make this new game. Uh, I like the old Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. It was but it was a turn-based RPG. I assume that they're not going to make it that way because it just doesn't make sense to do old game mechanics with new uh modern audiences. They just
mhm.
don't play games that way except for Claire apparently. So, I mean, with Claire Obscure coming out, maybe some people would be like, "Oh, we can go back to the old ways of the gaming and, do turn-based stuff like that." I'm like, it's hit and miss. You have to have something really special to make it worth it, and you have to have it kind of gel very well. I think Claire gets away with it because they have a lot of visual flair that kind of distracts you as well from your standard your old-fashioned turn base. So I'm assuming it's going to be more active, much like the latter Mass Effect games.
Yep.
And so I'm not. I guess I want it to be good. I want it to be so good, but at the same time, I'm just not going to hold my breath.
So like, yeah, so I think you're right. I think that there's going to be nods to the old games, to the old ways of playing games, but it's going to be souped up. I think that um that I don't know why, but I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 has kind of set the bar. Not that this game is going to be like that exactly, but the way that Baldur's Gate 3 is very much about player choice and all these dialogue options and all this really good acting and all this really good, story and narrative and stuff. I feel like that is what that is mostly what Fate of the Old Republic is going to be judged against, and Claire Obscure being like, we're going to take this old style of game and add on these fancy mechanics and like soup up everything to make the old feel new again. Like those two games are going to be the basically the bar that Fate of the Old Republic is going to have to sit on. The fact that the director from those games that are so famous in Knights and then in Mass Effect, um, I think that is probably the most encouraging thing. If we were not told, if we were just told that, hey, we're making Fate of the Old Republic, but we weren't told who was directing or anything like that, or at least it wasn't put there at the front, then I would be much more. I would have much lower expectations, um, and that actually might be part of the problem for this game. Whenever it's all said and done, is that you're talking about a big name in Star Wars, a big name in blah 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 of the Old Republic. If you're getting a school of that, and the director of that old game and Mass Effect, and that is a lot of expectations that are placed on this game. It really it's going to be hard for this game to meet those. It's going to be very hard for this game to meet those. But yeah, I would have liked to see a bit more in terms of what they're actually going to do with it, because there's no release date. They didn't show any gameplay. This game is years away. I mean, this game is 28 at the earliest, probably, and if that's only if things go, okay. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. And it's one of those things that we're just going to wait and see. So next up was another big one. So this was kind of the trailer you were alluding to earlier. So they have some people come into the audience and they're dressed in like medieval style clothes. They're walking down the aisles, and then they walk up on the stage and they're kind of playing this trailer, and it's this guy who is inside of something. He seems to be tied up, and then people are like celebrating in this other scene, and then lo and behold, it's like a Wicker Man type of scene where spoilers for the Wicker Man, but it's they start to burn this guy who's in this giant like Wicker Man thing, and then they're celebrating, and then as he dies, there's like this spell or curse that comes out of him, and then it kills a bunch of people, and so that is revealed to be the source of, or the origin or the meaning behind the very strange statue that Geoff Keighley had been showing prior to the Game Awards. It was like a bit of a kind of a viral marketing or hype piece that was like leading up to it. So yeah, and so that was all revealed, and then it was like from Larian Studios, Divinity, Not Divinity Original Sin 3, not Divinity whatever, just Divinity.
I was gonna say, I was glad you corrected yourself when you said the origin, because I'm like, no, 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 it's not original sin. It's not beyond divinity. It's not divine divinity. This is, it's not divinity. Dragon Commander. So it's there's been a lot of divinity games in the series. This is just straight regular divinity, and especially uh, coming off of the Baldur's Gate series, and having said we're not making any more. I think the expectations have never been higher for this studio, and I think backing and support fandom has never been at an all time high as it is now. But yeah, it was a really weird trailer for this show because once again you're seeing everyone celebrate, and there's like at first you're like, yeah, there's a mom and a kid like having a good time at this festival, and then when they start setting things on fire and people are burning, and then there's an orgy happening, they're like, okay, this is this is like Midsummer mixed with Wicker Man, okay. Then at the
Yeah.
very end, like I said, and the viral marketing of that statue in the desert, stuff like that. I was just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But at the same time, I really wasn't like gnawing at the bit to try to figure out what this mystery was because I'm like, they're going to tell me soon enough. I'm
No,
not
yeah.
needing to decode anything.
Yeah, I've been
So
let down plenty enough by that. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it years ago whenever Larian said, we're not doing another Baldur's Gate, or we're not doing Baldur's Gate 4, we're going our own way. I thought then that was pretty, from a business standpoint, it was like, I'll just say bold. That was very bold. But, we'll see how this game, turns out. But if it turns out as good as Baldur's Gate 3, even if it's just like the same thing but reskinned, it will sell gangbusters. And and they'll be able to own it probably, outright. I imagine they're probably
not
lose
do Wizards of Coast royalties, right? No
yeah,
royalties.
yeah, they're not having to. They won't have to pay. Wizards of the Coast, um, all that money and stuff like that. But so yeah, it's we don't from this. We also don't have any gameplay. Don't have any actors. I don't even know if there's been a director that has been named. I'm sure there's already one attached or whatever. So you could probably find that out. But they don't bring anything up like that, and there's no release date, obviously. So this one is also probably quite a few years away. Baldur's Gate 3 came out in 2023.
My bad. Wizards actually don't own Baldur's Gate.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought it was for some reason, and that was my mistake. So according to a quick search, it's not. So
Is it
my bad.
Hasbro?
It's this is supposed to be just it's supposed to be on itself according to the quick AI search, and it's supposed to
Really
be yeah, it's being D&D though, you think it automatically go, so there might be some extra licensing and stuff like that when it comes to
weird.
Hasbro slash Wizards of the Coast. But anyways, specifically looked up is Baldur's Gate owned by the Wizards of the Coast, and according to the quick search is like no, it's not actually.
Weird. I wonder how
But
that
anyway,
works. But
yeah,
okay.
I'm not gonna get into the logistics of that, but once again, if Larian can do their own thing just as good, without and they have their own name brand recognition at this point. People already know Original Sin, 1 and 2, and then with the boost of popularity from Baldur's Gate 3, they can just, like I said, reboot the franchise, just Divinity, and make their own stuff from here on out. And so long as it's just as good, uh, they are going to be fine for a very long time.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I think they have two more games. Like of grace period. It's funny to only say that, but it's like they'll make a lot of money, and it just depends, And that's two more games is like probably what 8 years of development. So that is so that's a pretty good amount of runway, for a company. So that's good. But next up, Coven of the Chicken Foot. This is it has a nice little art style, and it's a kind of the Last Guardian, but probably without all the jank. Kind of a cute, weird looking game. It's not exactly co-op though, so just sort of a strange little game, and there was no release date that was given for this one.
Yeah, is this the one where you're playing as the grandma
Right.
or
Yeah.
something like that? Okay.
Yeah, you're playing with a grandma, and then there's like a weird little like it's not little, but it's bigger than you, like a kind of a monstery thing. Looks like it's probably like 50% to twice as tall as you are as a grandma, and it's like okay, this is an interesting idea to play as a grandma, but yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, another kind of a pretty big one here is Ontos. This is slated for release in 2026, and it is from the creators of a little game called Soma. So Soma came out, I think, in 2014. I could be wrong, but I know it was a very big game whenever it came out, at least a critical darling. Um, this definitely has Soma vibes. What is it? Is his name Peter Skarsgård or I can't remember
That
his.
sounds right. That is a name. I don't know if it's his
It
name.
it
That
is.
is a
Those are two words that do form a name for someone. It's Skarsgård, and I can't remember his first name, but he's voicing a character in it. And kind of at the beginning, you can hear his voice. And it looks good. It looks. I don't really know what is good about it other than it looks like Soma, and it's from the people who did Soma, and it looks competent. So I'm pretty excited about this one.
yeah, it does look good. It's supposed, the whole uh kind of in space could be like cosmic horror elements, or it feels uh you know very shiny, could be very creepy. Soma, well, that's pretty much on everything. So if you haven't got a chance to play Soma, go into that as blind as possible. But just be prepared for it being weird and creepy. Not in the jump scare tactic, but more in the it makes you think and it makes you
Yeah.
feel bad.
It's a short game, from what I've been told, so not too much of a time sink there. And it was spoiled for me on a Game of the Year by Giant Bomb, and I think it was on the Game of the Year. It might have been earlier, but after that, I was like, well, I guess I'll just have to miss that one. But anyway, it's Legend grows. Next up, a little game called Exodus. Matthew McConaughey is a voice in this very clearly, but he doesn't seem to be the main character. This is a kind of a. It's been called a Mass Effect spiritual successor, and it has a release date or a tentative kind of release window of early 2027. Um, this didn't really spark my interest. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't really, just from the trailer itself, didn't look like something that I was going to be dying to play.
Yeah, it's still too early to tell. Having Matthew McConaughey in it doesn't really do much for me. So yeah, like I said, we'll see. I figure once it's a little more fully fleshed out, and some more gameplay trailers come in, I can be really excited about then. But at this point, it's just like it just looks all right.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely looks all right. Next up, Warlock, planned for release in 2027. It's I can't tell how much of this is in the title, but it is a D&D game. So I think it might. I don't know if it's D&D Warlock, colon Warlock or what, but and I don't honestly remember too much about this game. I think it's first person though, right?
I honestly don't. I barely remember this. I just remember not caring about it.
Okay.
That's
I,
legit,
I
like I was like, okay, it's a another D&D thing, and meh. And I was literally watching it at 2 times speed. Anything that was interesting to me, I would pause and slow it down, play at normal speed. This one's like, no, we can just go right by it. It's fine.
Well, I remember this being like, I was like, this doesn't look bad. It doesn't look like it's really doing too much that's gonna, surprise me, but it definitely didn't look bad. So I was like, huh, okay. Next up, a game called Screamer. This is I hesitate to call it an anime racing game because um, the actual racing part does not look anime. It doesn't really look like an anime style. It looks more like a Gran Turismo style. No, not exactly like that, but it's leaning toward that. But it's all of the characters and seemingly the storyline is done in an anime style, and that's coming out pretty soon. Planned for March 26th of 2026. Yeah, sort of a weird one.
Yeah, I wasn't really a big fan of the character design for the main character. I was thinking that if it kind of reminded me of like the old, uh, kind of arcadey-ish games like a Project Gotham Racing, um, or like Tokyo Extreme Racing. So if it's more arcadey than it is simulation, and it can be over the top, and if it has like a goofy, fun story, I can be down for this. But at the same time, it also feels like it would be a good just an extra add-in to a different game, like like some sort of cyberpunk, race like in-game racing, or the um, the one that was coming out, the open world uh, game that had like the Spider-Man swinging that we talked about before. You signed up for the early announcements or to try to get in on any early access.
Oh yeah, what is that game called? It's that anime GTA, Grand Theft Anime. That's a better name for it anyway. But I forget what that's. Oh, it's Ananta, I think.
Yeah, yes, and that's so I mean, I feel like it would be right at home being a in-game racing event type thing in that, than it would be its own, standalone,
It
but
seems
hey, if it's done right, it'll be fun.
it seems like a lot for a racing game to also be an anime, but it might actually turn out to be a pretty good idea. It all depends on how it's executed. If the racing is really good, then that's the main thing they need to do. But then if the story is like, oh dang, this is actually kind of pretty cool, then I could see it being a bit of a critical darling, maybe like a dark horse game. All right, so next up, two big ones for us. This first one really big. Control Resonant. This is from one of
Right.
our this is from one of our favorite developers in Remedy, um, and it's slated for 2026 release. Didn't get a window exactly besides 2026. Imagine that's probably going to be fall 26. And from the trailer, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that you play at least a substantial portion of this game as the character known as P6,
Yeah, you're playing as Dylan,
Dylan.
Jesse's Faden's brother. So he's kind of comatose in the majority of the latter half of the um, of Control, and it kind of leads you to like question a lot of things. They don't explain a lot. Uh, my kind of takeaway is it's looks like the an out like a altered world event happens, and it breaks out of the oldest house into New York. I forget if it's Manhattan proper, but then the entire a lot of the gameplay starts to look like Inception, and instead of being more projectile, gun focused, or like
Mm-hmm.
those kind of powers, it looks to be more of a melee, like kind of Devil May Cry esque combat system. It's you have what seems to be two metal rods that can kind of like pieces of the oldest house or something. They kind of transform as you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Make a giant hammer, make a blade, kind of thing. Dual blades possibly, and not really explaining much of what is actually happening. If it said something, there's a caption saying I think the sibling went rogue or something like that, or and so it doesn't necessarily say mean what sibling, so you don't know if it's actually talking about Dylan or Jesse, and you it looks, in my opinion, it looks like you're trying to stop it or trying to get to the source
Mm-hmm.
as Dylan, but it really doesn't it doesn't do anything. It's all visual like candy. It's all straight up eye candy, and it looks really good. I'm down for whatever they're
It,
dipping out.
it definitely does look good. A lot of this trailer is CG. There does seem to be some, obviously without a UI around, but there does seem to be some gameplay that's being shown, and so you can, you watch it closely, you can tell that looks like gameplay. And if that is the gameplay, it does look good. It does look like it'll be fun, and it looks like it's upping the ante from the first Control. And we already have a lot of really good writing from Alan Wake 2. I imagine that a lot of the team, there's going to be a lot of crossover, and the style of story should be similar. Obviously, it's going to be different in its own ways, but the level of quality, the directing, and all that stuff seems to be holding true, just from the little bit we can tell. So yeah, I'm super excited for this. This is, um, if it does end up coming out in 2026, which I hope it does, in fall especially, then I can definitely see this being. Uh, this is going to be a must play, for you and me, uh, prior to the end of the year. I know that to be sure.
Yeah, it's one of the things that is also causing some speculation is the fact that it doesn't straight up say Control 2 on it, because
Mm,
it's Control Resonance, so not 100% confirmed if it's supposed to be looked at as like a side story,
mm,
as opposed to an actual direct sequel. Uh, I don't care is what it comes down to. I will take what I'm given and be happy for it, so long as it tells a decent story and has solid gameplay. I mean, even the character, like some of the enemy designs, was pretty great. One of the last figures you see is this giant half face, potentially Medusa esque, or like some gnarly hair and just floating thing in the sky. It reminds me of the old like Shin Megami Tensei games. So it's just like, yeah, this is unnerving and this is kind of great. I'm very excited about this.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna be good. At least that's the hope. All right, next up, Gang of Dragon. So this is a Yakuza type of game. I think it's from the makers of Yakuza. Is that right?
I believe so. I mean, the fact is I didn't actually see it say. I was too busy watching the trailer on this one. And it's funny because the having the dragon name, and also then they of course they made sure the initials were God. So I'm
Okay.
like, all right, there's gonna be some sort. Well, they had it literally highlighted as they reveal the name. Uh, the As you're looking at the main character, I'm like, that's not Benedict Wong. I'm like, who is that? I know that face. And I'm like, I've made this mistake before. I'm like, this is that guy from that DC movie that no one remembers. And so I was like, okay, yeah, he's the Korean actor, uh, Ma Dong Sok, and sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but he's also in like Train to Busan,
Mhm.
where he plays a bruiser, and I'm kind of really down for the fact that you're not having a Ike Man thin Kiryu type. I'm like, give me a giant bruiser to play as, because he's just everything about him is very imposing in this trailer, and I'm really kind of excited to play another Yakuza style game, but as a different character, a different story. I'm like anything like that. I'm pretty confident that they'll do well, and it just doesn't. Um, this is a different studio, I think, called Nagoshi,
Okay.
Nagoshi Studios. So this might be its own separate thing, but it's just meant to riff heavily off of the Yakuza franchise, and but another reason why everyone remembers or thinks of Yakuza having the dragon title behind it, but also having the Shinjuku sign behind them, the Kabuchi show,
Mhm.
like red, traditional sign. So once again, not really sure the connections if there are any. But then towards the end of the trailer, they go from brawling to then just showing straight up like gunplay and like car racing, and I'm like, I don't know if I need that. I was cool with just having a straight brawler, but the moment you start
Mhm.
showing them like wielding assault rifles, and I'm like, you become a little more GTA than I wanted you to be. So that was the only part that I kind of took a step back, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I'm still really down for a soap opera melodrama, like crime thing. I'm okay with that. So I kind of low key really love that kind of genre. I mean, it reminds anything. Give me more stuff like the old Hong Kong action films, Infernal Affairs, or any of the old Chow Yun Fat, Better Tomorrow stuff. Uh, Hard Boiled. I really like that kind of genre,
Mhm.
and so to have this be another just a Yakuza like or dragon like now, I guess. I'm okay with that. So.
Yeah, it does look good. It's going to be nice to play as a character like that, who's a bit more. Is a guy who looks like he can take a punch and who can who can give a punch as well. So yeah, should be pretty good. There no release date as of yet, but it does look like they have some gameplay and stuff going, so shouldn't be too long out in the future.
Yeah, hope.
Next, yeah, next up, Street Fighter the movie. So so this was announced. I don't know if this date had already happened or whatever, but this was a big announcement where basically the whole cast came out onto the stage, kind of one by one, um, and kind of had a bit of they kind of talked a little bit, and it was sort of, is whatever you want to think about it, but they did announce that the movie's coming out October 16, 2026. And I didn't really kept up with anything about this movie, but I did notice that there's quite a few WWE people who are involved in this movie. I counted at least three or four, the three guys for sure, and probably some more that I just didn't quite recognize are involved in this. As well as a comedian and a couple other, actors that you've seen around as well, and also Jason Jason Momoa as well. So yeah, it's I can't remember what they all
Dude,
like.
50 Cent is a tied to this. He wasn't on stage, but he's tied to this apparently. He's Balrog.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, well, Balrog in the US, I should say, because all the names got messed up
Okay.
due to other things. But he's the boxer. He's Mike Tyson, essentially, is what he's playing as, and I find that hilarious. The thing is, there've been so many Street Fighter movies that have come out that or any of the fighting, like these what I feel like direct to video style movies. Um, and it's just like, well, it's okay that they're forgettable or that no one paid attention to them to a certain extent. Though at one point, because I first, like I said, I was first watching this at like 2 times speed, and then I had to rewind it, and I looked, I'm like, wait, like for a moment, I'm like, is that? Oh no, it's not. Okay, I'm completely wrong. But what I think is they should have just had Carl Urban from Star Trek and Doom,
The
you know
boys.
the boys. I'm like, you should have had him as like Ryu or something because that'd have been funny as anything. Just have him be completely like uh really out of place, but at the same time, he would perfectly encapsulate whatever role he's thrown in.
I mean, he's good. He's always good. So it wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a pretty campy movie, but that's okay. Just give me like good action, and it's silly story, whatever. Lean into it. Lean into the camp. Give me good action. Give me some good comedy, and then that's all it needs to be. But yeah, so the cast came out and talked about that, and then they left. And next up, we had a some gameplay shown, trailer shown for Saros, which they did announce a new date for. It's been pushed back to April 30th of next year, of 2026. So this is another one of those games that's going into that kind of April, late March, April timeframe. Um, that's going to kind of crowd that area, but it looks good. We saw a little bit more of the kind of storyline, some of the acting, and looks pretty all right.
All right. Yeah, it's Saros's I believe it was Housemark that's doing that.
Yeah,
And
smart.
once again, because it says April 30th, my mind's like, nope, not hitting that one. Just yeah, out of knee jerk reaction.
They should have just said it for April 1st, so they could just so they could
That
just
way
make a joke.
everyone knows that you're
Yeah,
not gonna make that one. And if you don't, you can just roll it off as marketing. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Um, yeah, Joe. If we ever come up with a game or a movie, we need to. And we don't have a date for it. We just set the date as April 1st of the next year, and then people will know. Um, but yeah, okay. So I'm kind of looking forward. I don't know how much I'm looking forward to playing that game. I kind of want to like it, but I just need to get a little closer. Next up is two games. Tomb Raider Catalyst planned for 2027, and Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis planned for 2026. So these games, they were leaked online like a couple hours prior to the Game Awards. I'm not sure how, but it seemed that they did get leaked, and so just a little bit of news, a little bit extra news there. Catalyst is a fully new game or new story, but Legacy of Atlantis seems to be a top-down remake of the first Tomb Raider game back from way back on PlayStation One.
A full remake, not necessarily a top down remake, but
Oh,
a
sorry,
full.
a full remake from top to bottom remake.
Yeah.
Basically, it's not just like a reskin or anything like that. Like they are completely remaking the game. People seem to be fairly excited about that. Nobody seems to be over the moon about either of these. But I thought Legacy of Atlantis, just from the look of it, looks pretty good. Catalyst looks like some aspects of it seem like I would not be totally. It just seems like it's just not quite grabbing me as much as Legacy of Atlantis is. But yeah, so those two games are coming out. One this year, one in 26, and one in 27. We'll see how those go.
Yeah, I don't know if it's done by the same team at all. I can almost see it being like, let's remake the old one and get ourselves custom, like familiar with this engine to make the newest one. That would be like the smart move to do. But at the same time, I'm not sure if these games are being done by two different teams.
I figure
I can,
they've got to be right because these are like 26, 27. I mean, they have a lot on both of them. I would imagine they're putting like their B team on doing the remake, and they're putting their A team on the brand new game. But I imagine that even if it's not the same, or even if it is the same development company, that it's probably two different kind of teams.
yeah, because it looks like it's Catalyst is Crystal Dynamics again, or at least that's what I found off their the Tomb Raider wiki page.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, um, Crystal Dynamics also looks to be tied to the Legacy of Atlantis, but also that's right. That one did say the Flying Wild Hog as well, helping develop that game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Crystal Dynamics. They know what they're doing when it comes to Tomb Raider and such. I think it'll be a fun jaunt. Most people don't remember the first Tomb Raider anymore, other than how pixelated it was or how the geometry was. So
Yeah.
I think it's a fun nostalgia trip for a lot of people, but also those old games are really rough to play. So for sure.
It was amazing for the time. That's for sure. Um, Next up, Forest 3, release date to be determined. It's a sci-fi this time. It looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, for a moment I'm like, okay, is I was thinking like maybe they can roll that into a VR output
Mm.
because in the beginning playing like the little chess and stuff like that just before the incident happens, I'm like, oh, this is totally a VR capable thing. Before the big reveal of what actually is, I'm like, all right, I think it has enough difference to it, and it kind of has that nice creepy vibe.
Mhm.
Uh, Towards the end, seeing the humanoid ish enemy in not knowing how they're going to react. So, but it's a certain, if you played any of the other Forest games, then you kind of know what to expect. So yeah, I'm kind of curious. It has a pretty decent following overall, I feel. So, good luck to them.
Yeah. Next up, Diablo 4 DLC, Lord of Hatred, um, planned for April 28th, 2026 release. Very cool, trailer with a very cool cinematic trailer. But yeah, a lot of people are excited about this. I played 30 hours of Diablo, and I think I got enough. But people are really excited about this one.
I was gonna say, yeah, I tapped 10 on my phone, 10-second skips through this one. Yeah, because I just didn't care.
All right. So next up, 007 First Light showed a little bit of a trailer here, and then they did the bad guy reveal. It's going to be Lenny Kravitz playing. I forget the the name. It was sort of a stranger name that I wasn't really used to. But yeah, so Lenny Kravitz is going to be the bad guy in this game. I kind of it didn't dawn on me until just then that I saw Lenny Kravitz. I was like, oh, are they going to do the same thing with this game as they do with like Hitman, where they're going to have like special DLC where they have new bad guys, every once in a while or whatever. And I was like, okay, maybe that's a good way to make some extra scratch and keep the game relevant and going.
Yeah, I'm completely not excited about this. Having Lenny
Okay.
Kravitz, I'm not a big Lenny Kravitz fan, and then just to be like, "He's the bad guy," I'm like, "I don't care," but I do like the fact that they're doing the cheesy Bond suspended upside down, like, supervillain motif. I'm like, "That's great," but I absolutely hate the fact that it's Lenny Kravitz. Just
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a musician and he has acted, but he's not really an actor. For these kind of things, they typically get like a act. They go steal an actor. They steal like a Skarsgård or an Al Pacino or somebody to come in and lend some more gravitas to the game. And Lenny Kravitz definitely does that, but not really in the way that you would expect. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm
He's
next.
cool. Love him, so he's obviously a good choice.
Yeah, that's all we need is just somebody that people like. So yeah, 007 First Light is slated for March. I forget exactly which day, but March of 2026. So this one is high on my list of early games to play.
Okay.
Next up, Invincible Versus. This is a fighting game planned for 2026, based on the Invincible franchise. Um, Looks pretty cool. Looks nice. I've never gotten into Invincible. I've always heard really great things. I have nothing against it. Um, but I'll probably be passing on this one just because it's hard to have enough time to play everything, and just doesn't get into as many of it doesn't get into my wheelhouse as much as some of these other ones.
All right, so Critical Role needs to get with Ad Hoc and license Dispatch, but to Arc System Works, and then make a Dispatch fighting game just to compete with this, just to mess with their day. And I think it'd be hilarious. But anyways, no, the game looks better than what was originally shown. I
Mhm.
remember when they first did the reveal for this fighting game, it was really lackluster. This one looks better, but at the same time, there's just something about it that just isn't clicking with me. Uh, there's a lot that you can do right about this because it's superheroes and stuff like that. So it potentially has a lot of uh, a lot of good things that can be about it. But I don't know who's actually doing this one. I forget who's making this.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. All right. What else you got?
All right. Next up, Orbitals. So this is a co-op space adventure with a kind of a retro anime style, and slated for 2026. I don't think this game is going to be anything particularly great, at least not objectively. But it did kind of hit on some things that I typically like. The art style was very much like, oh, okay, I definitely like this, and some of that stuff. And it is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive. So after I found that out, I was like, well, I guess I'm never going to get to play this because it's co-op, and Joe hates Nintendo. So so I think this one,
I mean, I'll accept the Switch 2 when you gift it to me in order to play this game. I'm all right with that.
like I said, I'm never going to get to play this because so I'm gonna have to hope that your children force you to buy them a Switch 2, and then I might be able to go to the pawn shop or the used game store. I could get a copy of this and send it to you so that I can force you to play it. But
I
yeah,
think I'm gonna have to introduce my kids to loot boxes before I get them into Nintendo. Just saying.
yeah, that's like really. I mean,
At least I'm gonna be screwed less if I go with the loot boxes over trying to go to hook my wagon to the Nintendo train.
yeah, and
So
really, there's a lot less pain in the long run, probably. So that's probably the better parenting move.
I know I'm getting screwed over, opposed to like the Nintendo fanboys who blind faith be like they're on our side, they're looking for us, and then be like, why are you hurting me so much? I just want to be friends. Yeah.
Uh,
I once again Nintendo. until they start changing their things, or until I have to buy one in order to not. I'm not going to be that parent and be like, no, you can't do that. But at the same
Mm.
time, I'm going to resist as long as I can. I can't, unfortunately, I can't do the Vinny Caravella thing where pretend like make my kids think my Nintendo Switch is a docked thing only, because
Oh
that would.
man, that's brilliant. He's a he's a he's a I don't want to say he's a good parent, but he is a brilliant one. Um, so yeah. So this adds to the list of games that I would buy a Switch 2 for.
The 3 or 4 games that you have total on your list.
Yeah, I mean this Donkey Kong. So Metroid, I really kind of don't like Prime 4. I'm not. I would probably get it because just to have another thing on my Switch, but it's not really one that I would buy it for. But the new Pikmin will probably be pretty good. So probably about 3 games that I specifically would buy a Switch 2 for. But it's young. There's only 8 more years left of its life cycle. So anyway, keep going. Lords of the Fallen 2.5 got released the day of the Game Awards. So go enjoy that if you like Lords of the Fallen. Next up, this one I probably should have bolded, but I only found out about kind of some more about it a little later. That made me more interested. It's a little game called No Law. The release date is to be announced, so there's none yet. And it's a cyberpunk sci-fi type of game. Which is like, okay, it looks kind of cool. It's first person, looks like you're kind of sneaking around and stuff like that. But the thing that drew my attention is that it's from the same developers as the game called The Ascent, which you and I both played a little bit of. You liked it a little bit more than I did, I think.
I actually really did like it. It was janky, but the thing my takeaway was I can't wait for the sequel, because to get rid of some of that jank and just overall. So I'm kind of down for this. It's a Neon Giant is the developer, if I remember correctly. So, but this is more like first person. This is a first person shooter like style game. Not much else is really given shown about it, and very different from the Ascent, but I feel that very confident that they can nail the aesthetic at least. So
Well, it looks good. Like if you, I don't know how many of these they have made, how much experience they have with FPS or whatever, but it looks nice. And it doesn't look, like borrowed or stolen assets or like whatever. It looks like they have tried. So that definitely has piqued my interest, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to that probably with you. Next up, another one that piqued my interest is Total War Warhammer 40K. No release date yet, so probably 2027 or later. But I've played a little bit of the Warhammer or the Total War Warhammer games. Um, I think I played Total War Warhammer 3 um, about 10 or 20 hours. I played 2, like a couple hours. And I do think they're really cool. They're kind of too much game for me. They're like a little bit too much strategy. But I did get in on those kind of late. So I'm hoping that if I can see this one coming down the pike, I can get it early and maybe spend a few more weeks trying to enjoy it. So yeah, I love the 40K universe. I'm not a diehard fan or anything like that, but I do think it's really cool. I've watched a lot of videos on kind of the lore, and I've read a few of the books and stuff like that. So yeah, very interested in this.
yeah, it was one of those things that when they first came out with the Warhammer, that everyone's like, just call it Total Warhammer. That makes sense. Total Warhammer 40K. Uh, but you'd muddle the licensing and all that stuff.
The
But yeah,
lawyers don't
40K
like that.
series. Yeah. The 40K series is most definitely, I think, the more popular one amongst modern gamers, and I think that gets a lot more of the spotlight, especially after Space Marine 2. Uh, and I think it's a good time to come out with it. So for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, Ace Combat 8: Wings of Thief. Planned for 2026. It's apparently it's been a while since there was an Ace Combat game. This one looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be coming off of, it's supposed to be hitting the 30th anniversary soon or something like that, if I remember correctly. So, the last game had some VR elements to it as well. It's a wacky, crazy story. It's fun, goofy. So Ace Combat, it's a simple arcade, style shooter, but it's good. So
Yeah, I hope that there's some VR. It looked like a game where it was like, okay, this is ripe to have like a whole VR thing to it. It could be very cool. Next up, Star Wars Galactic Racer planned for 2026. It's a pod racer game. I didn't really look at the trailer too closely, so I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's a pod racing game. Um, so
it's reminiscent of that, and I I didn't care. They lost me at Star Wars, so
yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Okay, next up, Out of Words. This is a game planned for 2026. It's a co-op game and it has a stop motion style of art. Looks pretty cool, and it's co-op, so you and I will definitely be playing this.
yeah, I thought this was announced beforehand as well, but maybe I'm wrong. I could have sworn it was though, and yeah, totally down for the way it looks, and most definitely interested in playing it.
Yeah. Okay, so we can kind of run through some of these here, these last few until maybe the last one. Arc Knights Infield planned for 2026. Don't know too much about Arc Knights, but that's what's going on. Um, Phantom Blade Zero, we got a longer trailer that's planned for September 9th, 2026. That is a game that I am looking forward to playing. I imagine that one is going to be on a lot of Game of the Year lists. Next up, Mega Man Dual Override, planned for 2027. Very crisp, nice, pretty looking Mega Man game, which there hasn't been one in a very long time. So a lot of people will be excited
Well, they
about
have
that.
to stop speculating that Pragmata is secretly a Mega Man game, because that's what a lot of people were suspecting. Like, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, if Pragmata was a Mega Man game, but having a real Mega Man game is always, always looking forward to.
I kind of think that would actually hurt Pragmata because I think new IP actually. I mean, maybe you'll go into a back room at the end of the game and like open a box. It'll be Mega Man or something like that. But I think it's Pragmata is doing fine. It's going to do fine just as it is as a new title. Next up, they showed a Super Mario Galaxy movie trailer. So if you care about that, that's what happened. Um, then after that, we've got a Neo 3 trailer, and this date might have already been announced, but they reiterated it. February 6, 2026. So Neo, pretty good games from what I hear. So look forward to that. Next up, Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive. So this has already been released, but they gave a console release date, I think, for 2026. I didn't see exactly when that is, but it will be coming out on consoles in 2026. And finally, a little bit of a talking point, I think, here. For the big reveal at the end of the show, prior to the Game of the Year, final announcement, was a game announced that's called High Guard. This is from many of the same people. I think 60 something of the same people who worked on Titanfall 1 and 2 and what's that other game called?
Apex Legends.
And Apex Legends. Um, and so a lot of the same people that worked on those games. Um, so this was announced. This game High Guard was announced, and it appears to be a hero shooter planned to come out January 2026 of 2020. January 26th of 2026. And yeah, so what are your thoughts on this, Joe?
They have Apex. I mean, now I don't care is what it comes down to be because it's another hero shooter. I really hope that well, if it is, like I said, I'm not 100% sure. It's like from the creators of, but it doesn't. This is was it Wild Light Entertainment, and
It's a new studio.
yeah, so it's just like I never was one for Titanfall, um, like, multiplayer. I played a little bit of it. It was fun, it was a little different, but at the same time, it's not my cup of tea. I'm more into Titanfall for the campaign. This doesn't have that, so I'm just automatically checked out. At this point in the game, unless if you have something that's really good and really unique, you're almost doomed to fail, and it's just I don't wanna see more people fail, more people lose their jobs or studios shut down, but that's what happens when when you have, live service game, nowadays. So, I don't know, fingers crossed, I just rather not, like, ring in the new year, like, with someone being like, "And a month later, they're done." So by
Uh,
February, yeah.
so personally, I have zero interest in this whatsoever. I don't care about hero shooters. Um, if you do, that's great. But I don't think there are a lot of people who are just clamoring for another hero shooter. And you're very much, you know, you did. I didn't see anything that really blows away Overwatch or Marvel Rivals. I'm not very familiar with those games, but those games are trying to think of everything, and they kind of have already thought of everything. Um, you're riding right into a a games landscape where you're competing with two very well established franchises in those two things, and I just don't think people are really like asking for this a lot. So I could be wrong, and I hope the game is very successful, but I'm not that interested in it. So all that being said, and from going off of what you said, um, I had this thought that I have found to be echoed throughout many portions of the internet, that this was a very odd thing to have at the end of the show. I think that it would have been better to have a Fate of the Old Republic, or to have Divinity to be announced at this point. Um, Maybe even maybe if there was more to it, like Gang of Dragon or Control. Those are definitely, those are not as big. I get it, but like, but but the there's just not too much. There's not too much where people are just asking for this. They're just like, hey, we got to have this. So I thought it was kind of a strange place to put it. The only thing that I can think, like the only reason that I can think that they would put this game there at the last reveal, is because the other two games that really could have or should have taken its place there at the end, there's no gameplay for them, and they're years and years away. And I'm wondering if Geoff Keighley, or whoever helps make the choices around there, was like, look, it's not as big of a game, but we have actual gameplay, and it's about to come out. And I do kind of wonder if maybe there was like a little bit of a greasing of the palms, or like, hey, we're going to pay for advertising space or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. But I was just trying to think of how and why this game, which doesn't seem like that, like it deserves this place, would get this place.
Yeah, I agree with you as far as all the trailers go. Um, the Fate of the Old Republic, that would be prime because it's just visual. It's a long little piece. Takes you a while to get to fully click in what you're watching, and then it ends with the close up on the face, the blue hue, and the sound of the lightsaber kicking on, and fade to black. Boom, done. Have the title sequence, end the show. That would have been the peak hype, as it were. I think this is most definitely better for like early reveal, being like, hey, this game might look fun to you and it's coming out soon. But when you got games like like you mentioned before, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, Apex, Valorant, uh, it's a really tough landscape to bust into. Also, it's a aesthetic that maybe is not for everyone. I don't really think High Guard is the look that people are like, yeah, you know what, I want a hero shooter that looks kind of medieval or something. I've never once thought that is what I'm going for. You know, a guy with a flowing cape, and a gun. It's just like, no, no, that's once again, I don't want people to have all their hard work just trashed, but I feel like they're gonna get trounced on unless if it does something really unique.
Yep.
And if so, then good. Good for them, good for changing breaking the mold and doing something new. Because if they do something well, other people are gonna copy it, and you know what? Right on, go for it.
And like I mean, the thing too is that the reason that we don't have a Titanfall 3, and we probably won't ever have Titanfall 3, is because those first two games didn't really sell. And the studio kind of got, I don't want to say lucky, they worked very hard, but they got a little bit fortunate with Apex Legends. And these are different people, or this is a different studio, but it's many of the same people. And I'm kind of just wondering if the decision making, for games that are going to be profitable and that are really going to work in the long run is completely there, or if the people that made those decisions for Titanfall have now been ousted or left the studio and are now making those same decisions again about High Guard. I hope the game does well. It does look competent. It does look clean and fun. For it looks the same as those other games and that sort of fun kind of way. Um, but it's a tough landscape.
All right. Yeah. So that was primarily it for the video game awards. The other big thing we forgot to mention is the other reason why Nick was watching this mostly for was the Evanescence show.
Oh yeah.
I know you were super hyped about it. I mean, you still have that lower third tattoo, so
Hmm.
surprisingly, the entire lyrics of whatever song. Why don't you sing it for us, man? Uh,
I don't want us to get shut down on YouTube and everywhere, and I also don't want to make anybody. I don't want to make Amy look bad, because well, yeah, I just don't want she's lost a step in terms of like highs and lows. So
it was such a weird PowerPoint, like, they're like they kept on like, "Yeah, she's it." I'm like, "When has it been relevant? I don't know." I unless if I'm just out of touch, which is very, very likely, but I'm like, I didn't think Evanescence was a part of anyone's repertoire, like, wheelhouse for the last, I don't know, since the early 2000s.
so we can
So
get into some deep lore. So I grew up in Arkansas, and Evanescence is from
Number
Arkansas.
okay.
So there was, so like when they had that song, which wasn't really even their song alone, like they kind of needed some help with that. But when they had that one song, that kind of blew everybody away. It was like, holy crap! Like, could we like actually have like a band to come out of Arkansas that made it big and did a whole bunch of stuff and all this stuff? So we're kind of rooting for them, and it just became clear. Like that first album, I never owned the album. I listened to parts of it, and a lot of it was very similar, which is kind of just what happens with like rock bands and stuff. But there wasn't really much of a follow up, and there wasn't there wasn't a lot of there wasn't a that there wasn't as much professionalism maybe as as some other bands have, and I think there was a little bit of difficulty in terms of um, kind of health of the voice and health of some of the other bandmates that made it very difficult for them to keep going. So yeah, that's just kind of what I think of whenever I think of Evanescence.
Yeah, I just remember I saw them once on live stage, from one of those music venues in Milwaukee, and it was just they happened to be on one of the mini stages playing music at the same time. I walked by, I'm like, oh yeah, they're here, and then I just stood there for a little bit, and there wasn't a massive crowd, but it was an okay little gathering, and then like, oh, they played the song, okay, cool, all right, I'm done, and I walked away, and I'm like, yep, I got my money's worth out of the stage, and then I went to I I forget. I think the main. I think that this is the era of, I think the big paid stage was, oh shoot, it was a Good Charlotte opening up for Hoobastank, and I think it was weird because it was in that order, and I was just like, wow, I was just
I,
went with some friends,
I
and
actually
that was
kind of
hilarious.
I actually kind of like Hoobastank, but man, that one song that they played to death, I wanted to I wanted to take a drill to my temple. I want to take drills to both my temples. Man, that song, I was like, okay, this song's kind of sappy, I get it, but man, it just got. I don't even if you were around at that time, I don't even know how you can defend that because that song, they just played it ad nauseum. It was wild.
That's pretty much that's the problem with any popular or any song that catches airways is when it starts playing that much, and you have uh there becomes a tipping point where like, oh, I like this song, and then it's just like, and then everywhere you go, everywhere you look, it's right there, and you're like, I absolutely hate this song, and then it goes from I hate this song to I absolutely hate that band. Like,
Yeah.
I wish it never existed because now it's just noise pollution.
And see,
So
I didn't really like the song to begin with. I was like, this is, I mean, I get it, but I don't really like it. And then,
it actually had an appropriate music video, like appropriate as in it's an actual video, not just them playing in front of a screen, like in front of the
like a
camera.
story or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, that is, yeah, that's the 2000s for you.
All right. Well, on that sad whimper of a note, that is the end of our episode today. We've gone ahead and gone through a lot of stuff. Did you want to mention the one bit of news?
Yeah, just one bit of news. We don't have to talk about it too much, but it's pretty big for like anime history and culture.
Yep.
Gainax, the studio behind Neon Genesis Evangelion, has shut down. Um, Ano, I think his name is Hideki Ano, the director for Neon Genesis Evangelion. He left a long time ago and started up his own studio and stuff like that. But Gainax has now shut down. Apparently, it had a lot of problems through the years. There was a president or something that was embezzling money or maybe it was tax fraud, I think. So there was that kind of problem, and then there was some other little problems here and there, and they owed people some money and stuff like that. And anyway, so hasn't really gone very well. And so Gainax, with over 30 years of history, 40 years of history, has shut down.
Yeah. Hideaki Anno.
Hideaki's.
And yeah, no, it's the company's been in like has come into trouble before, and that's one of the reasons why. I mean, well, a little bit of Evangelion lore with the fact that like they ran out of budget, didn't have the budget. Hideaki Anno went a little long with storytelling, and so that's why you got the infamous last couple episodes of the original run of Evangelion. Um, and it took forever to come out with the newer batch of films, the 111 series, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you are talking about a company that's like what 41 years old, I think. So it's insane. They were an institution, but also run very poorly. So you can kind of see, like the writing on the walls of like, oh yeah, because I honestly thought they had shut down and then were brought back. That was always the thought in my head for some reason. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why I thought that, but maybe just because of all the troubles with Evangelion in the past. So for some reason, I had thought they just went defunct and came back. But then to see to see them gone is sad. Hopefully, they might come back in another form. Hopefully, not under the umbrella of like a Sony or something like that, because that would I do not want that. I do not want Crunchyroll to like incorporate them or something. Don't do the Netflix thing. Just leave it be. Um, yeah, it's a. But you could see someone doing that. You can see like Amazon or something just tendering out and just trying to grab what they can, and
I
like,
could
no, don't do it.
I could see Ghibli buying Gainax and being like, we're gonna finally do our giant robot anime with violence and like plug suits and stuff. And
Totoro,
yeah,
it's like 50-foot tall or 50-story tall Totoro. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So, all right. Well, guys, yes, it is an unfortunate news. It just happened the other day, and I'm glad that you remember to bring that up. I completely forgot about with the talk of the Game Awards.
yeah.
But all right, guys, this has been ADP. And Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
Make sure that if you are going to go to the Game Awards, that you always bring extra popcorn and that you never tell anybody where the bathroom is.
Okay. Uh, Also, make sure to if you ever go out in public and you're big and famous, hire your own security for any of these events because but never trust their security. All right, guys. Once again, this is another Dead Pixel, episode 156. Until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.